Hey guys. So there is a version of Christianity um, that we don't see very much publicly, but that still exists, that rejects the ideas that have really taken hold in the evangelical church, particularly the white evangelical church in this country, which rejects the red letter Christianity, meaning the Christianity of Jesus. Like the words of Jesus are written in red in the Bible. And so red letter Christianity is the Christianity that adheres to the principles directly out of the mouth of Jesus. And what are those principles? Those principles are love and prioritize the orphan, the widow, the sick, and the immigrant. It's sort of the basics, it's the God is love version of Christianity, of prioritizing the poor, really prioritizing them, prioritizing the sick, prioritizing things like healthcare, things like charity and love and decency and kindness, and really kindness toward the stranger. There are many parables that Jesus tells about the stranger, and welcoming the stranger and the immigrant. That's the opposite of what American, you can't call it mainline evangelical Christianity has become. And evangelical Christianity is kind of taken over. It's very vocal. It's very loud. It's only 14% of the total population because a lot of people have simply fallen out of the church altogether because of a cynicism about religion, that it's so much about monetary gain and it's so much about, bling, and it's so much about ostentatious wealth and things like that. And then in the mainline church and sort of the mainline, sort of big churches, but then it's also just about cruelty and meanness and Trump, and once Trump became the object of worship of white evangelicals, it kind of cut a lot of people off from the church. So the church is shrinking in America. America is the most religious Western nation. We have the most religious people, much more compared to Europe, which is largely Catholic and becoming more secular. We're still a very Christian country, but getting less and less and less so, because I think people are falling away from the church because of the cynicism of how political it's become and how sort of ugly it's become. And then you sort of contrast that with the black church, which has historically been associated with abolition, with abolition and with civil rights, and fighting for freedom and justice and taking a lot of bombings and hell because of it. And a lot of the civil rights leaders were, Christian pastors like Dr. King, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there is this sort of division in the church that's racial, not all racial, because the Quaker church, the Quakers have always also been associated with abolition. That's a white main church. It's also associated with abolition. But there's just this schism, this sort of schismatic sort of mode that the Christian church in America is in. You're either right-wing cruelty church or prosperity gospel church or, red letter Christian church. And the red letter Christians just don't get a lot of ink. But they still exist. And there still is that tradition it still exists. And we've started very slowly, but we're starting to see it around Gaza, where you've had a small number of pastors, Jamal Bryant being the most well-known of them, that started to speak up for the peace movement. And the peace movement sort of naturally aligns with the church. It naturally aligns with what Dr. King would have been about, right? Because he was about that with the Vietnam War, very unpopular position. I highly recommend watching King in the Wilderness. They get deep into that, how he really broke, it caused him to even break with a lot of American black faith leaders because they were like, whoa, stay away from Vietnam. And don't go against Vietnam. But anyway, bottom line, the red letter Christians are still here. They're still pushing for peace, and they're getting louder. So my friend, Reverend Mark Thompson, who is a longtime civil rights activist and pastor and just a really decent, good guy, he has launched a song. He has, put out a song that he did a video for that is a pro-ceasefire anthem. And you'll see in this video, I'm going to show it to you in a minute, it's multiracial, it's multi-generational. It is truly in the tradition of red letter Christianity. And it's actually very hopeful in the sense that it is this other iteration of Christianity that I think is refreshing and interesting for people to observe, particularly in the times that we're in right now, when right-wing Christianity is so ascendant and when white Christian nationalism is so ascendant. So I want you to check out the video. And I think it's worth looking at and sharing. He is Minister, Minister on Instagram. And I will hashtag him in the description of this so that you guys can follow him if you want to follow him on Instagram. I don't know if he's on TikTok yet, but check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments. And this is me wishing you peace.
Yeah, she's standing back. Yeah, there it is. She's standing back.
Isaiah 2:4 says, "And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war.